Welcome to Cosmic Love Connections with Judy Jewett. Today we have a beautiful, wonderful guest. You're going to want to stay till the end. Actually, she's going to be here for a couple parts. We're going to have a couple shows with her. She is so much fun. She's entertaining. She's real. She is definitely not from this planet. And I love the title of my show, Cosmic Love Connections, because we're talking with angels, ascended masters, the celestial realm, and the galactic light being. And I'm going to tell you what, our guest is all of that. So we have Tamara Caulder Richardson. She's had 6 near-death experiences. She's an evidential psychic medium. We're going to go into that a lot more than you can imagine. She's conscious and trance channeler, ascension teacher, and a celestial ambassador of light. Welcome to my show, Tamara.
Well, I tell you, Judy, I am so happy to finally be with you. I know we've been talking about this interview and we're finally doing it. And I've been watching your spiritual progress for some time, and you have really put yourself out there, especially doing these interviews and so forth. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And the other things, Tamara, I'll tell you a little bit. We met.
It's Tamara.
Tamara. Why am I calling you Tamara?
Oh,
Tamara.
It's a long version of Tammy. Just think Tammy, but it's Tamara. It's
Tamara,
okay. People
I'm
say
so
it different
sorry.
ways. No big deal. They say it different ways.
Tamara is from the South, you guys. So Tamara and I met actually in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we both are residents of the Carolinas. And I had a wonderful time talking with her. And actually, I've done a reading with her. We've known each other for a while, probably for 5 years, I would say, 5 or 6 years.
Fun.
We've known each other forever, actually, beside the physical.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. You came up to me. We had all those people, and some of them are way out. I say way out there. That's coming from me, but the energy's a bit wonky. And here you come up, a little perky, and we just hit it off.
We did. And I'll tell you, it's when you and I first met, you did a lot of channeling with Jesus. I know I'm jumping ahead,
That's okay.
one reason I'm doing that, because I specifically said that we're going to cover everything with you.
Okay.
And you have great relationships with everyone of those areas, the angels, the celestial realm, the ascended masters, and of course, the galactic light beings. Let's go ahead. I want to go. There's so much information. Like I said, you might even want to get out paper and pen and write this down. You're going to have all your information. You're going to have her full bio and links in the description of the shows. So make sure you're not going to miss anything, because she is someone you're going to want to get and to really connect with and have a session with, and you're going to learn more about your services. So let's dive in actually to your near-death experiences, because it's not common to have one near-death experience. You've got 6 of them, right? 6 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping that that's it till, it's time for me to cross over and dance with my brother and sister angels. So I'm hoping that's it. But I do think when you have these near-death experiences, I do think it's an agreed upon thing on the other side before you get here. And I say before you get here, I mean, time is a funny thing. So in that moment of time before you're here, there is no time. So I'll just say as we know it now, there is decisions that are made. And I believe that it's, just like anything, people don't agree to, having a horrible disease or a loss of a loved one. They don't agree to that, but they do agree to lessons. They do agree to being more humble or whatever it is. They just don't know the form the lesson's going to take. Because then again, you would know, you'd have all the answers. So I will say with each of my near-death experiences that it opened or it took the what do you call it, the blinders off of my eyes, and it reached each time different levels of awareness, and as I see it now, and very confusing as a child because I had them very early on from prenatal up to 38, but as I stand now, a grown up, we won't say how old, grown up, that I feel like that this definitely is a holographic universe that we are creating moment by moment. We're co-creating our outcomes, which is great news. That means that we can change it, hopefully for the better, right? And that's through our consciousness. But just to give a kind of flavor of kind of what I've been through, and I will say that anyone that's had a lot of advanced spiritual abilities has had some kind of traumatic or trauma or something. Why that goes with it, it's just part of it. I guess we're hard headed. We have to learn this way. I don't feel it has to be that way now. I don't feel like you have to have pain to, I mean, there's some pain that comes with the body because we're in this avatar, but that you don't have to have that, that you can choose a different variant of that. You can shift your viewpoint. But my first one, I didn't even know it was a near-death experience, but based on PMH Atwater's Forever Angels about children near-death experiences, I had a prenatal, and I started doing a lot of past life regression, probably around 34 to 38, really heavily, and then I kept it up. And then I guess the last time I had it was maybe 5 years ago with Dr. Linda Bachman, who studied under Dr. Michael Newton. She has several books out, and I did an in between life thing with her. But I've done about not quite, well, maybe I have done up that much, 400 hours. So I kind of stopped counting after 375. So I've done a lot of past life. I've seen most of them on other planets. But what I saw was in detail and the whole verbiage of what was said, that my mom not carrying me, and she was losing me. She was having, she was losing blood, and I saw that. And I just observed. I was more concerned about her state because I was a spirit being, but I could describe everything in it, the situation, my aunt coming in, and I felt just this immense love. I didn't really realize I would consider that, but she considers that. And then when I was 3, where it really starts, I was playing in an antebellum house in Hickory, North Carolina, that's where I was born and where my mom was raised. It's really beautiful, the foothills of the mountains. It's very close to Charlotte and near Lake Hickory. It's really pretty. It's become kind of she, that people are like, oh, this is nice. We're just kind of funny. It used to be a mill town. You'd have the have and have nots, and now it's just a pretty place to be. But I was playing with my cousin hide and seek, and I ran upstairs and I'm squealing, like kids do, and I'm jumping, and underneath the dresser, I mean, it was a nice house. I don't know what it was doing there, but there was a nail that was underneath, and as I'm jumping, it pierced through my skull. And I went like this. I thought it was water. I thought maybe water like fell off the dresser in my head, but then I don't remember anything doing that. And soon as I touched it, it was blood. I fell back. Like I had no I couldn't stop that. And so when I fell back, I was immediately out of my body. This is what's really good. And I'm evidential medium, and I see so much with people that have passed that as soon as the pain, they don't feel it. They're gone. They're out. And so I was out, meaning I was out of my body as soon as that happened. And I was looking at everything going on. I could hear, my cousin, and she got the adults and everything that was going on. I could see from different viewpoints. I could see outside. I could see inside. I could hear everyone's conversations at one time. And then I saw an angel over my head, about 7, 8 feet tall, very golden light. And I knew it intuitively. I don't know how, but I knew it. And this angel stuck with me. And it stayed with me. I have different ones, but it stayed with me. It's called R.E.A.L. I didn't know that was an archangel till later on, and which means the fire of God. I didn't know that, but their hands, and it looked like not definite shapes, but I knew it wasn't human. Had hands over my head, I guess, in order to heal me. And then my grandparents ended up coming and getting me, taking me to an internist. They had to watch me because to make sure I didn't have swelling right in the brain. But I literally had a hole in my head 2 years. So from that moment on, 3 years old, I saw spirit people. it just opened that up. That's your crown chakra, right? So right open. And then when I was 4, that was a situation where my
Wait, wait,
mom.
wait. I'm sorry. I want to ask you at
Yeah.
the 3 when you saw the archangel Ariel. Then you went to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And then when did you come back into your body?
Oh, I didn't go to the hospital. I went, this is back in the day, Judy. I
That's
went to
true.
an internist, and my
Parents
grandmother,
took care of
and I mean,
everything,
just
right?
like put some Robitussin on it. I mean, so
Put a
my
Band-Aid.
put a Band-Aid. So my
Shave your
grandmother,
head.
exactly. My grandmother took me to an internist friend. She knew a lot of people. She ran a family hosiery mill, but she was known in that town, and her family was known in that town. They used to own a lot of land in Hickory and this kind of thing. And so a lot of it was sold off to like Harris Teeter, different places, but she knew people. So we went in the back door. She called him. We got in the back door, and he saw me, and he said that I was basically put on watch. And I remember she watched over me, and she still does in spirit, which is so beautiful. I mean,
Oh,
I'm so
yeah.
close to her, which is really weird. I love my mom. As she's gotten older, she's gotten so much nicer. That sounds awful, but she's mellowed out. She used to be like mean as a hornet, but she's mellowed out. But she gets so jealous of my grandmother in spirit that's always around me. She shows up all the time through other mediums. And my mom's jealous, and I think it's so funny because my grandmother's in spirit form, and I see my mom all the time. I cook for her and her coming over, but anyway, but going back, that I was remember a lot of pain to the head. It was very hard to stay present in that. It was very hard to stay in that moment because the pain. But I had 3, 4, and 5 in order. I had three deaths. So that one was really a close call. It did change me. And afterwards, spirit people would come in my room, my bedroom. I didn't know what to do with them. I knew they were people. They were very confused people because they were the lower astral realm. So they were confused. They wanted counseling. So early on, between counseling my mom, she always thought I was the parent and she was the child. So I was always counseling her from the beginning. And so then I'm trying to counsel spirit people, and some of them I just told to go the way. I just didn't know what to make of this. When I was 4, she had me shotgun wedding, Hickory, North Carolina. I mean, it was fun. He was a nice guy, but he was young. She was young. So they didn't stay together but a couple weeks. It just wasn't going to work out. They were not mature. So my grandmother, she came back to live with my grandmother, and mom has a lot of brothers and sisters. And so, which I had a lot of love there. It was great. But then she wanted to get, married and have a life. That she wanted to do that because she got older. And so when I was 4, and now she's around 24 or some 23, something like that. And she's got her eye on this DJ. And, Hickory, he was the hottest thing going on. I mean, he dressed fashionable, had the talk, pizzazz. And she just had her mindset. She had to have that man. So she wanted us to meet, and she was hoping we like each other. I never liked him from the beginning because I didn't have the words for it, but he was a player, and, he with women, he was, what do you call it? A runaround or whatnot. And my grandparents didn't like him, but we went out to eat at the Pizza Hut. It's a crazy place, the Pizza Hut. And it was a bad, snowy, awful day. And we went there, and then we went, got ice cream. And then we went to his radio place called Channel One. And I got to look through albums. I remember taking The Lord's Prayer by Nunn, who sang it, and then a couple Motown things. I think one was the Monkees, then a couple Motown. I didn't want anything else. And then early on, I always loved music. I knew music early on. I was like, early on, it was a kid. I was like, 3, 4 years old. It's like, who are the Monkees? Who are the Beatles? Who are the so and so? Oh, like I was so fascinated by music. And so they said it's time to go. They were arguing. So when we got in the car, and it was this gold Pontiac, and the weather was bad, really no one was out. We shouldn't have been out that day. It was just snowy, icy, the black ice. So they were arguing about, she wanted to get married. He wanted to wait till he had more money. And that's the basics that I got of the argument. Okay. Cause I don't know all of it because I didn't hear it all. if I was dead, I would have. I didn't hear it all. And so he zooms out of the parking lot. And again, no one's in the street and it's ice everywhere. It's bad weather. It's wintertime. The car goes in a circle and then it hits in a tree and it impacts on the driver's side. It lodges the tire in. Well, I didn't have a safety belt on. They didn't really require that back then. And everything was so close. And so I went up through the window. And when I did, and when I hit with the impact, it was so hard. I mean, it literally was, you've heard the term lights out. It was lights out. Like I literally was in a black, uh, I don't know what it was. It was all black. And I was very confused. So for those of you, this is going to happen to people. So I'm just going to tell you, don't freak out. But I couldn't find my feet or legs because I was dead. I couldn't find. I was like, "Where's my?" I could think just like I could think right now, but I couldn't find my hands or my legs, and I was confused. And I was looking around. It was black, and I couldn't understand where I was. So I do have compassion for ghosts and stuff to a degree, but I also don't trust them because the longer they're here, the more they get twisted. And if they're angry, then they can pick up demons. So I'm a little leery of ghosts, but I do understand where they could get confused, and I have helped them and told them it's okay and everything's fine. And I've helped a lot of ghosts cross over, um, just because they show up and I help them, if they want to be helped. But uh, I was dead, and I felt like at some point this blackness became a tunnel, and it became narrow. And then at the end, I saw a light, and it was coming closer, and it was Jesus, and there were people behind him, and he had his arms stretched out, and he had the marks in his hand. Now I don't know if he did that so I'd recognize him. I don't know, but he did. Um, I don't know the significance except for, oh, it's him. My grandmother did talk about him and said, if you want a friend, talk to Jesus. That's a good rule. So I did. And I have since then. But he came forward and he said, you can't stay, that you have to go back. And so I did. And as soon as he said that, then I'm back and I'm not in my body, but I'm in the car and I'm seeing these, they look like good old boys. They have a Wagoneer and they're trying to, with the chain, they're trying to pull the car away from the tree and then bend out the bumper so it can be drivable. And but you got to think all the impact when it hit my little body went up through there, and it didn't break the windshield, but I got lodged in there and my face was shattered in different places. I had to have, was it 2 or 3 surgeries to remove cartilage, and I had to have my nose fixed too because it was broken. But it stayed like that, broken for a long time. No one did anything. Finally I complained when I was 18, and he said, your nose is shattered in there. And I had sinus problems since then, really. But so we went back to the radio station, looked at me, I was bloody, and well, I should go back. So I'm above, when I come to consciousness, I'm not in my body. And I'm looking, them doing that, trying to help. And then I'm saying to the right, all this metaphysical stuff. I'm saying this, it looks like a rip in the universe. And it's not scary. It's amazing. It looks like golden flames. And I called it a God portal. David Ditchfield actually painted that. And I was like, I saw that. And he goes, I saw that too. I said, it was amazing. It was like co-creation portal. It was magnificent. It wasn't frightening. So I didn't talk about it for the longest time because it makes it sound like fiery, like hell, but it wasn't like that. It was beautiful. And then my angel there, Uriel, and she was like golden and red. And then to the left, I looked out past the window and I saw all these firemen that were spirit people. There was a firehouse there. Of course, it was closed. The weather was bad, but they were dressed in old timey outfits, and I saw maybe 300 spirit people, and they were dressed different time periods. And then a woman leaned her head in the driver's side. She had a little pillbox hat. And she said, "Hi, I'm Judith Hefner. Your grandmother goes to my mom's jewelry. She used to go to my mom's jewelry store and buy jewelry from her. So it's nice to meet you." And then she turned back to them. She goes, "She's the one." And then I saw 3 spirit people in the back of my car. I can't remember one. I think one was my great grandmother, Josephine, and then there was a Catherine, which I didn't know who this Catherine was. She was like a girl, And I found out many, many years later as an adult that my grandmother had a sister that died of typhoid fever named Catherine. And then anyway, she leaned her head in. She goes, she's the one who carries our voices. And I heard all this whisper, like, and so we go back to now, we're going back to the radio station, and they decide, no, we're not going back to my grandparents because they're going to be pissed off. And so at that point, we leave and we go from a 10,000 square foot house to a crappy trailer. And that's where we live. It was awful. And I had no toys except my Snoopy doll that was with me. And, I would play with these dirt things, these dirt that it was mud everywhere, and I would pretend they're plates. I mean, it was really sad. So my grandparents are freaking out, like, where is she? And so finally, after it was about, I never went back to them, and it was an awkward situation then. And so, and I'm writing that in my book, Love from Heaven, but it was very awkward. But I wanted to go back and I wanted to leave because I wasn't getting the food that I should have been getting. I kept eating hot dogs instead of whole, decent meals that my grandmother would make. So I saw this commercial of Vienna sausage. It was black and white little cartoon characters, and it was a Valley Dale sausage. And it was, ooh, Valley Dale, hooray for Valley Dale, hooray for Valley Dale. So I got in my mind, these are my little helpers and friends. So when I laid in this small closet, it was a bed. It was just so tiny. It's crazy. And if I'm saying that as a kid, it's little. So I don't even know. It was kind of a weird room. Like, what was it? It was so little. It was like a closet. And so I'm laying there and there's a window and I'm visualizing these friends helping me out. And so the next day I got up. I didn't know how to use a telephone or anything. I was told their exact number. I called my grandparents and they're like, how did you do it? Because I didn't know their number. I'm very young. And I told them 25 minutes away, street by street, how to get there because I remote viewed. And so I was determined to get the hell out of there. So they showed up. And I think they were legally trying to go for me. I don't know what happened there. My mom's still upset over whatever that was. But then I ended up staying there with them. We went from a red trailer to a gold trailer that was a little better, but the whole trailer caravan thing was awful. And then that's when the sexual abuse started. So that's what led me to my fifth one. We ended up moving to Raleigh, North Carolina. He got a better job, DJ and editorial manager who would write the editorials. And when we moved to Raleigh, we're 3 hours away. So now I'm really away from my grandparents and couldn't see them. And that's when the sexual abuse really started. And I had no way to help. Mom she ignored me, with that. Oh, this is really unfortunate. It's very common with people. So that's when I told God, I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't be here anymore. I don't know what this is, but I can't do it. And so I said, just kill him. Well, see, I didn't know that was a bad thing. And I kind of got a frown on that. Like, it's like, okay, well, take me. So indeed, that's what happened. So it was right around, I guess it was the change of seasons, but was the day, it was a couple days, 3 days before Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. And then I was very ill and had a high fever and it kept getting higher and she didn't take me to the hospital. And then one night, it got up to a 103.9. It got higher than that, but she was telling at this point, she married the guy. He's trying to adopt me. And, that's what mom was pushing. And so it got worse. She called the hospital. They said, put me in a tub of ice. She did. He said, we don't have the money to take her. So it just kept getting worse. And when she put me to bed, and she had me cleaned up, I couldn't eat at all. I remember she was trying to feed me a grilled cheese sandwich and a chocolate milkshake, which I was lactose intolerant. And so cheese and milk was probably not good, but I couldn't eat. And so she put me to bed. An hour later, I was drenched. And then she took me to the hospital. And that was the night that Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated because we had National Guard out and MPs, and you could not go. And so we got in his radio car, WKIX, And we, went off toward the hospital, which was quite a ways. Maybe it was 20, 30 minutes away. It was a ways because we were in Cary. And I remember going to Rex Hospital because like T-Rex. So I went to Rex. And on the way, I died and I just kind of slipped away because I had pneumonia and my lungs were shutting down. So I would go above and I'd follow the car, and it was almost like just an observer. And I would see the fires and the riots. You could see them in the distance. And then we're on this empty highway, maybe a car here or there, but it was empty. We come up to an MP station, and what are you doing out? And he saw, and he said, my daughter's ill. It's just emergency. So he said, I'm going to call ahead. So we just went through all these barriers. You had to go to barriers. And then when we went to the hospital, it was, I don't know, right under a dozen people run out to help and so forth. And then it ended up being, it seemed like there was 12, but then it got down to 8. So some helped and then they went away. And they took me to this room and they put something down my throat and they started pumping things out of my lungs. And it was all this mucus and so forth. And I'm just watching everything. They clocked me in as 15 minutes dead on arrival. But this went on trying to resuscitate me for 2 hours. So I was dead for 2 hours on and off. And they kept going to my mom sitting in the lobby and saying they're trying to get her vitals. I don't think she understood that what was going on. But as I'm going through the hospital, I'm like meeting people, and that people that have just died. I'm in a room, a lady's having a child, and she's slipping away. And she goes, "No, you have to be here for your child." So I was like, "This is kind of cool." I love this whole angel thing. And then I went to a candy machine to look at it because I'm a kid, and I'm looking at this candy machine where you buy candy and put in your quarter or whatever it is. And a little girl in a brownie outfit, I remember a little African American girl, she saw me. She saw me in spirit. She saw who I was. And so then I would go back and check. But basically, they ended up covering me with a sheet. And that part, seeing that was really awful. And I don't know why, but it was really awful looking at that. And then because I guess I felt sadness for that little child. And then, but I didn't see that. It took me years to see that part because what I saw was more beautiful. That was kind of the final body part. And then someone eventually saw some kind of breath and put me in a room with put me in one of those clear tent things for breathing. But what I saw is too, they were Catholics. Well, I kind of found out later Rex Hospital was a Catholic hospital. I mean, many years later I found that out. But there was a nun and a priest, and she said, "Blessed are the innocent." I didn't know she's talking about me. And they were praying over me. And I just feel like that was their ministry back then, and they continue to do that. And then next thing I know, I see a man holding my hand to the right, and he's smiling, best smile you've ever seen. And it was Jesus. And I said, "You're that man I talked to." He goes, "I am." And he was just so nice. And he had all these beautiful white light coming out of him, especially from his core. And his presence was so pure. It's just hard to explain. But he said, he had something to give me. And I said, "What a toy." And then he thought that was funny. He goes, "No," because I'm 5 years old. So that's where my head is. And he said he gave something off of his belt, like it was a rope belt, nothing fancy. And he said he took a piece of it off and he wrapped it in my left wrist. And he said, and it could have been symbolic, but he did it. And, okay, I mean, anything's possible. You're in spirit form, but that's what he did. And he said, "Much is given." It's like a friendship bracelet. "Much is given, much will give. Through the small things, the big things would be done. And through the big things, the small things will be acknowledged." And he told me I had to go back. And then I saw this beautiful pasture, and there was a tree. And to the left, there were kids playing on a roundabout. And I said, "Well, they're here. I can stay here too." And he said, "No, you can't." And he said, "Your mother needs you. You need to show her love." And I said, "How do you do that?" And he goes, "Well, there's no right or wrong way to do it." And he said, "You'll figure it out." And I said, "She'll be fine." And so I told mom years later this thing, and she goes, "You said that?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's Jesus. I'm sorry." Of course I did. He kind of outranked you. I mean, his love is so intense. I mean, I'm like, yeah. And he goes, no, she won't. You got to go back to her. She won't be fine. This has changed her forever. So he said, okay, you could stay a little bit longer. And as he walked, first of all, his feet are beautiful. I don't know why. They're just so pretty. Like most men's feet don't look especially great. They but they look like that he went to get a pedicure. They just look so pretty. And as he's walking, the grass is curling around his feet. I can see that. And I can see the grass, the flowers, is the clouds, everything that is following him. And everything's very vividly colorful. Then we go over this tree and it's got flowers on it. It's got little grapes, it looks little red grapes. Kind of looks like a dogwood, but pink, and little red grapes on it. He goes, now we don't eat from this tree. And I'm like, okay. And there's a rock there. So he sat on this big rock because it was about, higher. And then I kind of just leaned toward him. He said, ask me anything. So I asked about electricity and things like that. I'm a kid, I don't really have a huge mental vocabulary at this point. At 5 years old, asked about dinosaurs, asked about electricity, and then he began to teach me. And he said, you have to be careful of what you speak, because when you speak things, you manifest them here on this plane and the heavenly planes, right? He said that we manifest very quickly. And he says, but on earth, it takes longer. So you have to make sure that you speak positive things and consistently, and be very careful of your words. And I said, okay. So I said, so how fast can you do things here? He goes, oh, it's immediate. I said, can I try it? He goes, sure. So I visualized we were in a little boat, and these three little fish came up, and I picked one up, and I picked one. He picked one up. They came over, and he said hello, and he put it back. He said, that's how we fish. And then it was just an exercise he showed me, and then we go back. But he basically told me I had to go back. I didn't want to go back. But then when he said I have to go back, when he spoke it, I was there. But I didn't go back in my body. I did the angel thing for a while. I kept trying to help people in different rooms. And so I sort of cheated. And then there was a doctor in a spirit that showed up. His name was Dr. Tip, and he had a little bow tie. He had a little bald head, and he goes, and I felt like he was the administrator at one time there. And he looked like he had a 50s kind of thing going on. And he said, little girl, you got to get back in your body. I went, no, it's going to hurt. I'm not going to do that. So Jesus showed up. I need a t-shirt that says that, and said, you need to get back. I've made it okay. So as soon as he said that, I'm in there, I'm in the tent. Carol Burnett's in the TV in the distance, and then, I'm back in the room. After that, and being dead for so long, that was a massive game changer. I knew things. I had intense psychic knowing. Energy, I could feel people's energy. I could feel their intent. It was very hard to be around people that were lower vibration. It was just sad to me. It kind of still is sometimes if I think about it, try not to think about it too much. I just acknowledge it, move on. But I felt I was even more tenderhearted, and I couldn't understand why I was able to experience things I didn't like so much. And with that was the big thing that changed me. But me talking to Jesus never stopped, and he still talks to me now.
That's beautiful. Very, very beautiful. That you have it almost feels like you have a direct channel to him. And I know you say, well, that's true, everybody can, but no, you have like a really strong connection. And you're here to really help a lot of people, whether you're on your near-death experiences, you're doing it, but you've got a lot more to help here. So it's beautiful.
Well, thank you. I think everyone has that access. And I think that
Yes.
if I had to say what my role is like all of us, our life is an example. It could be a good example. It could be a bad example. And I know there's people that don't understand me, and I really just don't care. I mean, I don't mean to be ugly, but I have to follow the Most High, like where I'm felt God, okay, himself wants me to go. And sometimes I don't even understand these places and areas that I go into. And trust me, I have discernment. Okay. I know there's evil in the world. I've done several demonic deliverances. I can see it on them. I know them. I know the names. I understand that. That's a certain level, like the ghosties, right? But I don't focus on that. I focus on the higher portion of that person and the love that's within them. And I feel like that my presence is an activation to people and that it activates them on their mission. It gets them going. And I can just say a few words and they're actually, I started noticing this because, you have to kind of live long enough to notice these things. But I'll say things to people and then I'll look back 5 or so years and they're doing it, but they're successful. So I just come in and say a couple like perfect things for them. And then they're on that train, they're on that success train or what have you. And I think it's more the presence and just it's innately, I'm just picking up what they already know and I'm just gently pushing them a little bit.
Right.
I do that with strangers. The Jesus and the higher realms, that's where we're from. That's who we are. This other stuff is just deception and anything that's chaos. Like I had we've talked about this conspiracy theories and so forth. Things are going on, sure, but at some point you have to put a curb on it. You go, okay, I got it, good information. But what I look at, I'll go direct. Is this, should I waste my time on this? Is this true? Is this not? And just like with the April 8th, I was told not to go out. So big deal. I self quarantined for 3 days, big deal. And I did stuff around the house. That was tough because it was pretty days. But he said, and soon the rain will come. But I do listen to my inner guide, but I feel like that you have to really watch your energy levels of these things and that if it starts making you feel upset or chaotic or chaos, then it's time to stop. So I think that seeing it for what it is, the duality, and we want to be outside of the duality. And because all these realities exist, Bigfoot, fairies, so and so, they all exist, demons, angels, they all exist. So why not fly with the angels? Why not connect to that higher level and also our star family? So Jesus has brought me other ascended masters. He's brought me Saint Ignatius, Yogananda. Of course, he brought Yogananda. Yogananda studied him. Of course, they're buds. You know who he showed up with early on with me a lot? George Harrison, which I perceived as his younger brother. He's much quieter and shyer. Jesus is kind of charismatic. But think about it. He had to go on the streets and talk to people. Of course he was. He's a little bit more charismatic. He's a little bit clever and witty. George Harrison is a little quieter, but they come together in Mother Mary. And I'm not the only one that's picked them up. There's others that picked that little threesome up. I don't know. They like traveling together. He's brought me Saint Ignatius, which I wasn't sure who he was, but I looked him up. He showed up with the donkey and he had like the friar hair, the bald head with the ring around it. And he started talking in parables to me. And I'm like, well, if two birds in the hand are worth more than so and so, well, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, it was very unusual. How he kind of talked in parables. But Saint Ignatius, of course, was the one who started the whole Jesuits and the Saint Ignatius religion, which I think is fascinating. And they followed the walks of Christ. So again, of course, Jesus brought him to me because he would know him. Then I've had Gandhi show up. Jesus has showed up on the Galactic Federation beside Astor, which that Astor showed up to me, and that was wild. That's another story. But I asked him to screen people so I don't get any weirdos. So he does, but he's interdimensional, so he can do those things. So I know that. Look, he's a lot more. We're a lot more. We're a lot more than the eyes meet. We've lived endless lives. Energy can't be destroyed. We are energy. We are part of source. We're part of the creator. We can't die. Okay. It in some ways, some people don't like that. They're like, can I take a break? I'm like, no, energy does not take a break. You're going to move on to something else on this planet or somewhere else, probably this planet. And, but there are in between states. And I do think that these experiences could be spiritually transformative experiences for people. Like I've seen ghosts that'll wake you up. I mean, It's always, and it's always surprising to me that like I'll go in a place, I'm like, oh man, they're trying to talk to me. So when I go like to Charleston, I'm supposed to go to Charleston. My sister has a place there. And so we're going to go in May. I tell them if we're downtown or, they're everywhere, all that old buildings. I say, look, this is beautiful here. Thank you for letting me be in your city. I'm just here to enjoy myself with my husband. I wish you well. And they leave me alone. They don't
That's
bother me.
awesome. I do, we're getting close to our time, and I want to make sure we talk some about the 10-year-old near death and the 38. And I want all the viewers, listeners to know we do have part 2, and you're going to be back on. We even got another surprise for them that we'll talk about at another time. So if we could, I have so many questions for you. But I know that right now I need to ask you about when you were 10 years old, the next near death experience.
Okay. So, I didn't know this was going to happen. So we were at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and we're on a family vacation. And at the time, now he's my stepdad is my father, and they have we back then they did trade deals, so we'd stay at these nice places for radio time. He would sell radio time. Got into radio sales. So I'm in the pool at this place. I think it was Maison Sumer we were staying at, and in the pool, these young guys, 13, 14, which are older than me, which was, I think they're grown-ups, at 10, I'm thinking, oh, they're big. So I might have, let's see, if my sister was 2, yeah, I would have been 10 because 8-year difference. So I'm in the pool and they're playing volleyball and I'm swimming on the bottom and it's very crowded pool and they are playing and I get hung up on their legs and I can't get out of underneath. They don't know I'm there swimming around. I'm probably being a little pervert, to be honest, because I really like boys. Just saying, I was, 10 years old. I was fascinated. What is that? And so, but I got tangled up and they didn't know it. And so I started seeing, I started taking in water and I started seeing it looked like a horizon in the water. Obviously it's another dimension. And it started opening up and I started seeing just a white line, a horizon. And I started hearing this multitude layered choir of angels, like you would imagine, like, whoa, all that. Yeah, that sounds terrible, but like this layers of angely stuff, right? And I went, oh my gosh, not again. Then all I remember after that is waking up in the lifeguard and there's water coming out of me, I'm hacking up water. And then my mom standing above me. My family, we love this.
Wait, how did you come to the surface? I don't understand.
Well, I went unconscious. Apparently someone grabbed me and because I'm just choking out water. I don't know how I got up there.
Who knows?
I don't know, but it was a lifeguard and I'm coughing up water. My mom's standing there and I remember she had a purple bikini and long blonde hair. We always walked around in bathing suits in our family in the summer. And then my sister, little teeny thing, like 2.5 or so, she's got like a little hat on and she's looking at me like, what'd you do now? So no, I didn't talk about my NDEs with my family. And for a long time I came out, they were pissed off. Now I'm going to tell you the secret to it. A lot of people that have had near-death experiences when they are children, a lot of times I can meet someone, I'll go near-death experience and I'll tell them the age. I just know that and I can feel it with their energy. I can also feel when people have lied about it. And there's a couple people known that did not because I've been in physical presence with them. Their energy is not the same as the others. I've met people that haven't come out with their ND. I said, you've had one. And they go, how do you know? Their energy shifts when they come back. But yeah, I couldn't tell my family about this. And the reason that they're mad, I'm saying the secret here is because there's something they didn't want you to know. They're neglectful or something happened on their part. They let that happen, right? How did a child die? Well, where was the parent? So a lot of times they feel they don't want to look at it, right? They don't want you bringing it up. That they want to just let it go. It's in the past. So that's why a lot of parents are not supportive because they don't want you to know and they want you to not remember, especially the one with Jesus and the car wreck and all that. My mom did not want me. She couldn't believe I remembered all that. They didn't want they never told me. and that I remembered, but you can decide I want to remember, including your past life. So the 10-year-old, that's what happened there. And then I had one at 38, which was really cool and short, but I had a pill that was given to me for my medical doctor, and it was for menstrual migraines. And whatever it was, I took it like a week or two, sporadic. It made me sleepy, not wake up. And one night I took one. I'm just not a big pill person. And I took one, and I literally kind of woke up in the middle of the night like bells went off. I felt like Frankenstein. I just kind of sat up, and I don't know why. It affected my motor skills. I couldn't talk. So I couldn't wake up my husband, and I couldn't think rationally. I think I was shutting down, which didn't make sense to me. So I went into the living room to turn on the TV to think if I could follow the consciousness of anything that's going on there, then I would be okay. So I sat on the sofa and I began feeling frightened, which I knew what was next. I would not care. And so I'm sitting there and I start hearing this white noise, the white noise, the psst, got really loud. And then I started losing consciousness, even though I'm awake and I'm sitting there. So I'm by location. I'm kind of there, but also outside of it. And I didn't know it was male or female. I was like, okay, this isn't good. I didn't know my name. And next thing I know, I start seeing the living room break into white lines. Everything was white lines held together. It was like white lines, everything. And next thing I know, I'm in the galaxy. I'm in the Milky Way, which I love nebulas, which, by the way, the Milky Way is where all those Sirius and Andromeda and all that stuff is, which I really like. And so I was there, but I was here. So I took one finger and I kept touching my leg till I finally came back in because I thought, you had one pill. It can't possibly kill you. Had nothing else with it. You're just having a bizarre reaction. So I found out years later at the Monroe Institute, that's one of the levels that you do, that it's white line. So that was, to me, evidence that we're living in this holographic universe because we've agreed upon structures that are put in place. So if getting back to conspiracy theory, if we can decide, okay, I see these jerks over here acting like this. Okay, I got it. But you know what? I'm creating too with my love, with my intention, and I can say, I refuse, I reject this name. I reject this activity or whatever it is. And I always say in the name of Jesus, but I reject it. I'm going to co-create with God, and I'm going to do something better because I have an effect in this world. So that's how I look at it. We're always affecting things. And if we come together and love and say, no, I'm tired of this crazy business. I deserve to have peace and love and happiness. I mean, just basically, petting your dog. That's just the best thing when you pet your dog or your cat. I mean, and they're just so sweet. Or walking outside or going to your herb garden or just little things. And so we are creating all the time. We are masters of creation, and there's different outcomes. Nothing is ever set in stone. We're constantly creating ourselves. We can even decide, I've decided not to age. You can decide not to age. You can reverse it. I mean,
Tell us how to do that.
well, you can say, one of the things I do is silly. I go, I love being 39. That's what I tell myself. I love being 39. Of
Okay.
course, you'd have to add another 20 years to it, but I go, I love being 39. I love how glowy my skin is. Look how I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I was able to live this life at 39. So I there's little things that I do. I also don't buy into, this sounds crazy, I know, but I don't buy into wrinkles. I mean, I have some, but like I went to my doctor to my annual appointment, and he goes, "You don't have any wrinkles." And I'm like, "I know, I got some right here. I do, I actually do." But you can slow down aging, is what I'm saying. You can slow it down. It's gonna happen, okay? It's out. Look, we got these vessels. I don't care how senior you are to it. This is like a car. At some point, your cars wear out, but you can slow it down. I've had cars, um
Could
you
we,
know,
I'm
20
sorry,
years that are
we're,
new.
we're at the end of our show. I could listen to you all day. I'm sorry. It was not fair to ask you a question because you're so good at every angle sharing. You give so much. I just really, really appreciate you, Tamara, and being here and being part of this and sharing so much of you. I mean, that's what
Right.
you've done. You've shared so much of your journey, and it helps everybody to understand that we're all living this human experience, right? And it's beautiful and it's healing, and you just send out so much love that if someone would just be quiet and be attuned to it, you're giving healing, like this love, pure love to everyone. It's beautiful,
Oh,
beautiful.
well, thank you. I think that's what we all are. I just, if you recognize that, it's because that's what you are too. And I think that that's what we all are. And I think anything else is interference. You know what I
It
mean?
it
It's not truly who we are. This is really who we are. It's really sappy and sweet and beautiful. And that's really who we are. And we're afraid of exposing that. And yeah, not everybody, there's some people that might step on it if you show it, but most people won't. Most people, they want that interconnectedness. They want to know it's going to be okay. We're all imperfect to some degree, but that's the beauty because we're in this amazing work in progress.
we are. We really, really are. We are. Wow. I mean, like I said, I have so many questions, but I know that we're going to prepare for part two. I want everyone to make sure that you listen on social media when part two is. Of course, will be the following Monday. So make sure that you listen, and then plus we have a special offer for you also. Oh my God, I love you so much, and I'm just so appreciative. Thank you.
Well, I feel the same, Judy. I mean, I think that you're wonderful, and I love seeing you blossom and building this soul community. Do you mind if I mention real quick? I don't know when it's going to air about that. I'm going to be a speaker on the Galactic Cruise.
Would you please do that? Because this is,
Just
yes, go
quickly,
ahead and do that.
just
Yes.
quick. So this is new, but I want to tell people because it's an offer that I think is really good. I'm going to be a speaker, and I sent that to you on your phone. You're like, "What is this?" But it's something new that I'm going to be a speaker on the Galactic Origins Cruise, December 14th through the 21st. We're going to the Mayan ruins. We're going to get activated. It's going to be awesome. Although I do have a lot of past life memory of being sacrificed in the Mayan ruins, I'm a little like, I'll get past it. But I will be speaking, and that will be on the celebrity equinox. When you register, and I have a little slide, I don't know if I can send it to you, but if you register, when you register, which we're going to have a lot of fun, do a lot of stuff. If you use my name, Tamara Richardson, I'm doing this. No one else is doing this. You get a $325 value reading from me for 30 minutes. And then if you have someone else registered in your room, they also get that. So you can use that for evidential mediumship, life path. You can use that for if you want psychic questions. Some people are very concerned about the now. If you want to know past life, I don't really care. I can go past life. I can do an activation. You can use it how you want, but nobody else is offering that. And I figure because that's just a way of getting people on there and people that I like so we can all have fun together. But I'm doing a talk on At Sea with Sirius B, and I talk about the Aquafarians on Sirius B and how people that are attracted to the water and whales and dolphins and where that comes from. And it'll be a beautiful presentation. At the end, I'll channel the Syrian Council of Light. And then I will be teaching a workshop on how to recall your past life on other planets. And then I will teach the second part, how to speak your last planet you were on, your light language. I will tell you how to speak that. And I will be as it should be. And you will learn your light language. And I will teach people how to do that and what that energy does when you speak it and how you bring forward those timelines into now.
Wow. That link is also in the description, so everybody will know. But thank
Thank
you.
you, Judy. Thank
Thank
you,
you
Judy. I want
very,
all my
very much.
friends on the ship so we can all have fun and all, take our ascension to the next level.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.